had one hit! That's it!
No.
Damn it, dude! Fuck! What's going on, guys? It's IcyRhythms. Welcome back. This is my review for Dark Souls 3, but this one's gonna be a lot less professional, formal, however you want to look at it. I don't really have a script or anything for this one. I didn't write anything down. This is all off the top of my head. So a lot like a lot of my other opinion videos, you know, there's not really going to be any cuts or some serious edits or anything. I know that's big on YouTube. It's kind of a thing to edit your videos in that way to make them seem more professional than they are and make it seem like you don't ever really make any mistakes. I do that sometimes, but that's not what's happening for this review. This is going to be about Dark Souls 3, but I think just the Soulsborne games in general, because I have played Bloodborne as well as Dark Souls 2. I did attempt Dark Souls 1 on PC, but man, the game is just a mess. Even with some of the fixes, it's not acceptable in its current form. But I've never beat one of these games until now. I beat Dark Souls 3. I'm like, you know what? This one to me has the most enjoyable mechanics. I can play at 60 FPS without really any dips or anything, and obviously it has the best visuals of the bunch, being that what it is. I don't know how much you want to get crazy about Soulsborne game visuals, but I think artistically at times the game looks really good. I think From Software along with CD Projekt probably have the best enemy design in all of gaming, and especially with the boss battles and stuff, a lot of that is just really well done. And if you ask me what my favorite boss was, just based on like design alone, I think the dancer, right? The music too, like the music with a lot of the bosses or in just certain areas of the game is also really good. So I did enjoy the gameplay somewhat. I didn't give Soulsborne games the most fair shake that I could give them until I beat the game. I still don't think the combat is as fantastic as some people make it out to be. People have told me that the Witcher 3 combat is average, and then they say that, you know, the Soulsborne games have amazing combat, and I'm like, not really. And I still feel the same even after beating Dark Souls 3 and feeling a little bit better about the combat. I just don't think it's great or amazing or anything as some people do. It's enjoyable. It's a little more than serviceable. We'll say that about these games, but I don't truly enjoy the combat and the mechanics all that much. I think they do just enough for me to enjoy the experience somewhat. But if you guys know, I don't really give out scores, and a lot of times I don't say a lot of bad things. There aren't a lot of negatives in my reviews. And that's something that I need to work on for sure, among other things with my reviews. There aren't a lot of negatives with my reviews, but if you guys remember, the last review I did was Quantum Break, and I said probably my biggest beef with the game is that there's so many damn cutscenes, whether they're using the in-engine stuff or the live action stuff, which was even more annoying. You know, cutscenes, so many different cutscenes. And that's one thing you can say about these Soulsborne games is, yeah, they do have some cutscenes, but most of the time you're actually playing the game. When it comes to Soulsborne games, you actually get to play them, and a lot of the cutscenes are just for like kind of, you know, what they consider important story moments or some of the boss battles and whatnot, but there's not really a lot of cutscenes, and I appreciate that. I respect that. But getting back to what I was saying, a lot of negatives. These Soulsborne games, and it's always been kind of my beef with them, is whether it's one of the basic enemy types, even maybe one of the more difficult basic enemy types, a mini boss, or just a boss in general. I don't find it to be the most fun when you're spending anywhere from 20-30 minutes to an hour and a half. I spent an hour and a half on one boss, and there may have been one that I spent even a little bit more time than that. I don't really find that to be, after it's all over, there is a sense of accomplishment, I guess, somewhat. And then for me, it quickly fades because I'm like, at some point this is going to happen again with an area in the game or another boss in the game. It's going to get frustrating for me. And I know, right? It's like the whole get good thing or whatever. I don't really have any desire to get good at these Soulsborne games. That's not really my style. And it goes back to what I was just saying. It's not a lot of fun to spend a lot of time on those areas or those bosses just to move on to the next area. There are so many other enjoyable moments that I want to experience in the game or move on to the next game. I feel like I'm wasting my time, right? I could be moving on to the next game I want to play. Actually, I was sort of juggling Dark Souls 3 and still playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which I probably will do what I like to think is a proper review for at some point. But I want to move on to the next game after I'm done with Dark Souls 3 and Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And if I was still playing it, it would be less about being fun and more about being frustrating and like, oh man, you know, I wonder where I'm going to struggle next and how long I'm going to struggle in that area before I can move on to the next game. That is just, it is not fun to me to have those frustrating moments and worry about, like, you know, time is precious, man. It's valuable. So I want to move on in the game. And if you're struggling, like, there were 1 or 2 bosses I got on the first try. I don't know how I accomplished that. Maybe I was a little over leveled for those areas or something. I like over leveling. I like getting to a point and grinding and having my character beast before I move on. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I like to play games like this. And maybe that's just me. I don't know. I'm sure it's not just me, but I'm saying maybe it is just me with these Soulsborne games or any games that have RPG elements or just are, you know, RPGs as a whole. I like to level. I like to grind before moving to the next area. And maybe I've even, you know, grinded to the point where I can complete the next 3 areas without a whole lot of trouble. And I had a couple of moments like that in Dark Souls 3, but I'm so torn. You know, I've always had, and it hasn't changed, I've always had a love-hate relationship with these games. I'm not gonna say that I'm never going to play another Souls game. I'm not saying I'm not going to play Dark Souls Remastered at some point, or, you know, if there's like a Bloodborne 2 or a Dark Souls 4 down the road or something. I'm not saying I won't play those games. I'm just saying that I'm not saying for them to make the games easier or less difficult. I'm just saying, for me personally, I don't find it to be a lot of fun to do those same things over and over for long periods of time, stay in that same area or on that same boss when I could be moving on, doing other things, or still playing that game, but progressing through that game. You know, that's just not, it's not a lot of fun to me. Similar to the cutscenes, I'd rather be playing and them telling me the story while I'm playing. You know, find a way to do that. Some games can do it really well. Others need cutscenes and very cinematic stuff to get the point across. So Dark Souls 3 is a very good game. I don't think they're for me. I definitely need a good long break. I probably won't touch a Souls game for at least a few months or maybe even a year or two. It just kind of depends. But that's how I feel about Dark Souls 3. This is my kind of review. Again, I know it's not super professional as they normally would be from me, but I just didn't know how to approach this one in a way that would make sense to you guys. I don't think I'm qualified enough with the Soulsborne games to give a proper review, and maybe you guys feel differently. I don't know, but it's very good. It's just, I'm not really sure that these games are for me. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the continued support. Again, make sure to check out my last review, Quantum Break, and my last video, Witcher 3, 3 years later. You can check that out as well. Thank you guys again. Take care. Have a good night. Peace.